Welcome everyone to today's episode of Flat Tire Dan. As always, I want to start by thanking everyone who has found our YouTube channel, Flat Tire Dan, and has viewed some or all of the episodes that we've put on there. Last week was kind of a crazy busy week around here, so I thought it might be a good idea to maybe remind everyone of our original episode 1, which we created prior to having our YouTube channel, and I don't know that a lot of people were watching at the time, so if you had a chance to view that for the first time, thank you. That was a fun one. We really had a good time putting that one together. For today's episode, I want to talk a little bit about an event that I'm really fortunate to get invited to every year right around this time of year. And I think before I get into the event, it might be good for me to share a little history so you kind of know where I'm coming from on this one. About 10 years ago, I purchased a project car, a 1993 Ford Mustang LX 5-liter convertible in need of restoration. A few months prior to me purchasing that car, my father had passed away, and I didn't really share kind of this part of it, this internal part, with really anybody, like even those closest to me. But when I purchased the car, a lot of the reason that I bought it was sort of as a tribute to him and a healthy distraction, and it served that exact purpose for me. During the restoration, it was a healthy distraction, while I was going through what I was going through. And as the car got closer to being finished and I was able to get it out with my family and enjoy it, it really did stimulate, fond memories of my father. And I'm grateful for having that experience. But shortly after I got it home, I realized that I had little of the knowledge that I would need to complete a project like this one. So I decided to reach out locally, do a little research locally on some resources, people who had done it before and could kind of point me in the right direction. And one of the first groups I found was a group called Valley Forge Mustang Club. I found their website, and on their website they had a little chat room, and so I kind of went on there and introduced myself and described kind of what I was hoping to accomplish and my vision for the car, and the response was great. Initially people were able to explain to me these are local shops that do good work, and these are good spots where you can find parts for these types of cars. But a large part of the response I got, I didn't expect, and that was there was a large group of people that wanted to physically help me restore the car. They wanted to hands-on give me a hand, and it was refreshing. It was surprising, and I'll give you an example. So I had the car a couple weeks, and a long-time member of Valley Forge Mustang Club. His name's Tommy. I won't use his last name, but for those of you familiar with the club, you'll know who I'm talking about. He invited me to bring the car down to his house on a Saturday. Now, I didn't know him, and he didn't know me, and he invited me to his home. And so I went down, and I met him, and I met his wife, and I met his pets, and we spent about an hour going through the car and just, suggestions from him on things maybe I could do myself. Suggestions from him on things I certainly shouldn't do myself, and it was super helpful. When we were done talking, I had 100 times more information than I had when I got there, and I was getting ready to leave, and he was like, "Hey, is there anywhere you need to be right now?" And I was like, "No, I got nowhere to go." And so he said, "Well, pop the hood." He says, "We'll spend a little time steam cleaning and detailing your engine and engine compartment." I was like, "Really?" He says, "Yeah, why not?" And that's kind of like an example or a snapshot of the response I got from Valley Forge Mustang Club, right? And so after that experience, I was like, all right, I'm in, and how do I join up, and they have a great website where you can go and it'll talk to you about membership requirements and the annual dues, which are basically nothing. And you don't even need to own a Mustang to be part of Valley Forge Mustang Club. They suggest you be a Mustang enthusiast because that's most of what they do, but you don't even need to own a Mustang, So we joined the club, and my membership isn't just for me, it's for my entire family, right? And so we start going to meetings and stuff they have going on, and we start meeting other members of the club, and they're a pretty sizable club. They average around 150 to 180 members every year. And so we started meeting different people, and even the people that weren't like gearheads, like, didn't want to turn wrenches with me. They were all like super nice and welcoming and went out of their way to make me and my entire family feel part of. It really did change my life at the time, now that I think about it a little bit. And then we start going to like different events like car shows and things like that, where we're meeting other people in the culture, right? Other car clubs, Jeep clubs and truck clubs and all that kind of stuff. And all those people were the same way too. They wanted to know what my vision was. They wanted to talk to me about their past experience. They wanted to give me parts. Like, they didn't want to sell me parts. They wanted to give me old stuff they had around. Like, it was refreshing. Like, it was super neat to start experiencing the car culture in this area. And one of the things I learned pretty early on, not only about Valley Forge Mustang Club, but about all these clubs, is that they're very charity oriented. They're very charity focused. You go to these events, whether it be a car show or a cruise or whatever, and at some point someone's going to walk around and ask you to give them a couple bucks, to kind of support the cause, support the club, whatever it costs to run a club. And then you find out after the fact that every penny outside of that, all these clubs or just groups of people donate to some needy cause or multiple needy causes, right? And like, I can only speak specifically for Valley Forge Mustang Club, but I know that every year Valley Forge Mustang Club donates pretty sizably to 4 or 5 major charities, not only from the proceeds created throughout the year for different events and stuff like that, but these people reach into their own pocket, on top of all that. And it was new to me. Like, I just didn't realize that, that this group of people with a common passion, a common interest, were all about a common goal, And so we'll fast forward a few years, and I get to be a pretty active member in the club, and we get approached by a group called Philabundance. Now, Philabundance is kind of a local group that is basically like a food source, like donates food to needy people. I'll read you a little bit about what they do, because I don't want to butcher what they do. So, from their website, Philabundance was founded in 1984 with the simple belief that no one should go hungry while healthy food goes to waste. Our mission is to drive hunger from our communities today and to end hunger for good. In addition to food distribution, we strive to reduce food waste, increase access to nutritious meals, and tackle the root causes of hunger through programs such as the Philabundance Community Kitchen. And it says here 135,000 people per week are served by Philabundance. So, on top of that, right, the other thing I want to share with you about Philabundance, like I said, I am fortunate to get invited to interact with these people once a year. And you go to this specific event that we go to, and they're mostly, I would think, if not all, volunteers. And I've never seen people happier to work hard. Like, there's a tremendous amount of food that is created to serve 135,000 people a week. And that food needs to be gathered, it needs to be, I don't know, organized or something, right? And then distributed to all these people. And these people work so hard and do it with a smile, like, not like fake, like they are really joyous about doing this. They're a great group. I'm gonna tag them in the description of this video if you want to do a little more research on them. And so anyway, this specific event, Philabundance about 4 or 5 years ago reached out to all the local clubs here, right? The Jeep clubs and the truck clubs and the BMW clubs and the Porsche clubs and the Mustang clubs and all that. And they said, listen, we have an idea. We want to invite all of you down, all your members, even people that aren't members, and we want you to polish up your cars, and we want you to come down to the Philadelphia Sports Complex, and we're going to open up all the parking lots, and you guys can have a big, giant car show on us. But before you come, would you please fill up your cars with groceries? And when you get there, we'll unload them for you. And that happened this past weekend. Now, it was a little rainy for this event, right? Years past, the weather's been great. Years past, it's been rainy. Today it was a little rainy. And anybody who knows car people, rain and car people do not mix, right? But the turnout was tremendous. It was as if it wasn't raining. There were so many people that wanted to get involved and wanted to help. And it's one of my favorite events of the year. And so obviously I took a ton of pictures. And hopefully you'll stick around to see them all, because there's a lot of cool stuff to see. They have like giveaways and they have raffles, and they actually had like a little car rally course set up this year, which was new. But it's a great event every year, and like I said in the beginning of this video, and I really do mean it, I am fortunate to get invited every year. Now, I no longer own a Mustang. I sold it about a year ago, but I do own a pickup truck. And fortunately, you know, Valley Forge Mustang Club, the club I belong to, is able to gather enough donations to necessitate, actually this year, 2 pickup trucks to assist and take all the donations that we were able to get together. I mean, if you've ever owned a Mustang or driven in a Mustang, there's not much of a trunk or a back seat to speak of, but that's a little part I get to do. You know, I get to show up and we load up my truck and we go down, and these people unload it, and they do it happy. Like, and they can't be more grateful that you're there. So I can't recommend it enough. It's a great event that I go to every year, and I'm glad that I get to share with everybody here. I always kind of, at least I try and kind of touch on like how this stuff I talk to you about affects me personally, right? And this is all the personal stuff is only for me. Like I'm not suggesting in any way that anybody else should feel any way like I do. It's all about, you know, just sort of my personal stuff here when I share this stuff with you. And I do want to share with you like how this kind of stuff affects me, you know. So obviously you get to be, for me at least, a small part of the solution, which is great. You know, it makes you feel good about yourself and makes you feel like you're paying it forward or you're giving back or whatever, and that's all great stuff. But it really does help me sort of, I don't know, align my priorities this time of year. You know, like my head will go to, okay, I want to buy this present for this person, and how am I going to get the money to buy this present for that person? And I'm blessed, you know, I'm blessed that I can do that, you know. But, you know, it helps me refocus my priorities to maybe help somebody who doesn't have that luxury, you know, doesn't get the opportunity to do that every year. And the people from Phil Abundance, like while you're there, they'll walk around and they interact with you, obviously, and they'll talk to you a little bit about how, like, all, you know, you see all this food and all these groceries being gathered and donated at this specific event, and they remind you that it doesn't even scratch the surface. Like, it doesn't even make a dent in the amount of people in my community that need this type of help that I'm blind to most of the time, you know. And then the second thing it really helps me with, and I certainly need help with this, is just looking at my life with a lot more gratitude, you know, like, you know, that I'm fortunate enough to be able to help out if I can, but that I've got this life that I don't really, you know, spend a lot of time being grateful for, and an event like this really helps me there, and I, you know, on top of everything else that it brings into my life, it brings that stuff into my life too, and I want to share it with you guys. So I'm going to tag Phil Abundance, I'm going to tag Valley Forge Mustang Club, and I think I'm going to tag Bucks County Stangs. And they're another local Mustang club that we're super friendly with, and we kind of spend a large portion of the day this year with them. So I'll tag all 3 groups if you want to do any more research. Again, thanks for tuning in and viewing these videos, these episodes. I'm having a great time putting them together, and hopefully you guys enjoy watching them. And remember, stay tuned for more content from Flat Tire Dan. See you.